Hey there, this is Robert, and you are listening to The Robert Budd Show. I want to thank you so much for listening, and if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you find yourself liking or loving the show at the end, I'd really appreciate if you would share the show, follow it. You can leave a comment. I love comments. And like I said, share it with a friend. That's the highest form of compliment. And if you are a returning listener, what's up? Thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. And it is really fun to hear from people who have been listening to this show. It is so cool. And so never hesitate to get a hold of me, reach out to me. I can be found on the socials, RobertBudd16, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of good stuff. And also Robert at kbinstructor.com. And like I said, I love hearing from you. I love hearing your feedback and those who you would like to hear on the show. All of it. It's all good stuff. I read it all, and hopefully I return all your communications in a reasonable amount of time. So anyways, today, on today's show, we have Helen Schettini. And Helen is a pro snowboarder out of Canada, and she is a backcountry snowboarder. And what this is, this is perfect because I know really nothing about snowboarding. I know what it is, but I don't know any of the equipment that goes into it, the brands. Even I like the water when it's not frozen, so anything water that is frozen, I don't really partake in. I've skied one half day, and that was it. I've snowshoed, stuff like that. So talking to Helen was really great. So what she does, from what I can tell and the videos I've watched, I've seen her movies, is she gets up on top of these high-ass mountains and snowboards down, and it just looks pretty wild to me. I mean, it looks like there's avalanches about to happen, and like jumping off of these crevices and cliffs and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty amazing, and it was really fun to talk to Helen. She's super humble. That must be the Canadian part of her, and I love teasing her about being Canadian. She takes it with a grain of salt, and she's really great about it. So that, if you want to check her out more, she's at Helen Schettini on Instagram and Facebook. It's a great way to get a hold of her. And check out her movies through Transworld, and the newest movie is from Full Moon. Check that out. It's really cool. So anyways, her jam is out of Whistler, and so she's been described as having big balls. So if you just take that however you want. Anyway, she says she's been also called she rides like a guy. So I'm assuming this is a pretty high compliment, especially when it's coming from a guy. So on the show, we talk about her favorite gadget that's under $100 that is potentially could save your life. The board she rides, whether it's surfboard and snowboard, and also some of her favorite books and her influences. So without further ado, here is Helen Schettini. What do you surf? So it's for my sound check. That's my surf instead of breakfast.
Okay. I like it. So are we still talking?
We're talking, yeah.
Oh, is this the sound check?
Yeah, this is sound check, yeah. Sound check. I'm making sure.
Okay, check. 1, 2. Oceanside Pier.
Well, what board and stuff like that would give specifics?
Well, since the waves have been so non-existent, I've been riding this fish, which is really fun. It's really thick, so it's pretty buoyant, and it's flat. It just gets you into the waves. So that's the one I rode today. And then yesterday, there was a little bit more swell in the water. So I rode my really fun, it's a 5.8 Almeric. It's, I forget the name of it. A Rocket, I think. Anyway, it's a little bit smaller. It's only got about 26 liters volume. Anyway, it's great. Great times all around.
Did you bring it down here from, or where'd you get it?
I actually bought them both in Indonesia. Just things are a lot cheaper over there. And since I was planning on bringing a board back anyway, you're only paying, one plane fee for the board bag. So you just may as well buy 3 boards over there and bring them over than just one.
Is that what you did?
Yep.
What's the other one?
The other one is not good for these waves. It's for Indo waves, so it's like a 6'2", more of, it's not a gun, but it's more for just big waves, which aren't really relevant here, so I'm going to try and sell that one. It's useless over here.
You don't go over to Indonesia enough to use it? Or?
I go every year, but every year I go with an empty board bag that I roll up, and then I just bring stuff back. Because over there, it's like I said, it's so easy and cheap to buy stuff, so there's no point me bringing this one over there.
So what would be, for me, considered a gun, since the 6'2" obviously isn't for me, I am 6'2", so what would I surf over there?
Oh man, probably like a 6'5" or 6'6". You kind of want something pretty buoyant because the waves are big, so you need a lot of length and volume to get into the waves, I feel like. I don't know, but if you're a really good surfer, you can get into those waves on anything. I guess it's just dependent. I'm still not by any means a really good surfer, so I need the volume to help me get in there.
Well, I'm not a surfboarder at all, so I wouldn't be doing those at all. You might need like a 9 foot.
But then the key is you need to be able to duck dive. Yeah. Because it's so terrifying when you see these massive waves coming at you, and if you can't duck dive, you're screwed.
Fuck that.
Not worth it.
I duck dive everything. I body surf.
Yeah. So you're used to it.
Yeah. I go under I get tubed in ankle slappers.
Have you ever thought to bodyboard? Has that ever been like a thought?
I used to when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I seriously love it. Yeah. My friend's got a Papo board. It's called a Papo.
I've never heard of it.
And it's a wooden. It looks like a boogie board, a body board, but it's wooden. And if I got the history right, they started making them back when they started making surfboards, like long, years and years ago, 100 years ago, whatever it was. And it's thin and it's zero buoyant, so you can push it down to the ground and it would stay, or you can bring it up to the top and it would stay.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of a bitch to get out because it is, when you duck dive, it like goes straight in, doesn't freaking come up.
Yeah.
But it's super fun and it's really fast. And it's a little longer than a regular bodyboard. It hits me, if I hold it just underneath my chin or my head eye height, it hits me above my knee.
Okay.
Papo.
That sounds pretty cool. Papo.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell that? P-E-Y-P-O?
P-A-I, I think. P-O. Papo, I think. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I feel like I'll now see it places, Sometimes there's...
A lot of guys will make them.
Okay.
They'll hand make them in their garage and bring them out, or like they will handmade planes or something like that. So
it's pretty exciting these days how much homemade boards they're creating, surfboards and snowboards. There's so many people making their own boards these days, and it's just kind of a cool, I don't know, pace of life.
Yeah.
And you get so into the ideas and the science of it.
Yeah. It's shaping snowboards.
Yeah. There's a new thing, I don't know if we talked about it, but it's snowboarding. So it's a snowboard with no bindings. And so you don't really need edges either. So that's a much easier snowboard to create. But you need perfect conditions. And obviously you can't be on resort. You have to go snowmobiling to get to the right terrain. Because you need you can't be on a cat track. You can't be on tracked areas. You need good powder. But you go with no bindings. And it's the funnest thing ever. Better than surfing.
So it's like surfing now, or like skateboarding or something like that.
Yeah, it's so hard to describe. It's fully like surfing, and the boards are much more surf-esque.
How do you stick on? How do you stay on it? There's no grippy tape or anything like that.
It's like a rubber, so it's like a bit of a soft. So you're not if you're on wood, you're just gonna slip off.
Yeah.
So it's just enough that your snowboard boots will not be sliding around, but it's not like it's grip or there's no magnets or anything. You just sort of, it's the momentum. It's kind of like surfing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And where can people find these?
All over. The one I have is made out of Utah. It's a POW surf. They're so fun. Otherwise, they're kind of made all over, like I said. Like, it's kind of like a garage make your own, because a lot of times you're just using a piece of wood. Because, like, you're in powder, so you don't need the edges. So it's not nearly as technical as a snowboard.
That's sweet. Is it easier to learn on if it's in powder?
No. It's definitely, you need to be pretty advanced, I feel like, as a snowboarder to get into this.
Advanced, really?
I would say advanced, even expert, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Most of you mean my big ass on one of those.
Yeah. But I feel like if you're a surfer, you'd obviously get the knack of it a lot quicker than a non-surfer or a skateboarder, you know? If you're used to not having bindings and being on a board, then you'll probably dial it in a lot quicker.
Do you read a lot?
I read a lot when I'm on vacation. I was saying that yesterday. I think when I was in Indonesia, I was there 2 months, I probably read like 10 books. Whereas when I'm here, I do podcasts. Yeah.
What's a book that has significantly impacted your life that you've read within the last 10 years? Or 5 years. Let's go 5 years.
The Four Agreements is a really good one. That got me through... Last year, I kind of went through a lot of... Like, there were some sponsor changes and some relationship bullshit, so I was kind of in a weird space. And so that really helped me kind of see the bigger picture and just kind of get through things. Another one that was really influential, because I have a bit of a patience problem that I work on.
Like you don't have any?
I feel like I just get irritated when, when people are indecisive or just in certain circumstances. Or some people are just like a slower pace of life, where I'll be like, hey, let's meet at noon. And they'll get here at, 12:30 not thinking anything of it. That sometimes will irritate me. And I'm like, I just need to relax. And so that Eckhart Tolle one, A New Earth, that one, I find it a really hard read. Like, you almost have to, sit down and say, I'm going to read 1 hour a day. It's not something that you gravitate towards, but it helped so much. And just sort of, switching it around and seeing the other side of it and just sort of relaxing more. And, the person who just happens to be on, a more relaxed schedule than you, they're not trying to irritate you. That's just the way that they roll. So you have to just accept it and relax a little more.
Yeah, it's nothing that, they're not trying to diss you or anything.
No,
like
not
that.
at all.
Yeah.
So you got to not take it so seriously.
I've heard his other one. My wife read his other one. It's a green cover. I read The New Earth, and I found it the same way. It's a little tough of a read.
Yeah.
But the other one that he has...
Power of Now?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's green. It's got a green cover.
Yeah.
She says
Power of Now
faster.
is the first one, and then A New Earth is the second one. So I was told A New Earth has a lot of what the Power of Now has in it. So I figured you kind of only needed to read one of the two. So I just chose the new one.
Do you ever gift books?
I do.
What's the book you gift?
The Four Agreements, and then The Mastery of Love, which is by the same author. I can't remember his name. And then we've actually just been talking about The Untethered Soul. That's a really good book as well. Again, I have no idea the author. And it's nice because sometimes you can there's probably 10 to 15 chapters. And so sometimes when you're just I don't know, just a little low or just in a mood to sort of just have a little bit of reassurance or something, you can just choose a chapter and it's, you're just in that chapter in that moment and you're not having to worry too much about what the previous chapter said or, things like that. They're all sort of on their own.
I like just to pick up a book and kind of go in the middle of it sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
We're talking these kind of books, not like a nonfiction.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
But then how the hell do you know what's happening?
That's it. I'm like, what's happening here?
Actually, do you even read the back to have a synopsis of what's up?
Sometimes. Well, I'm reading Walden right now, and I did not do that. I just kind of jumped into it. So no, not
the weirdest thing I might have ever heard in my life.
And I'll skip around it. And so I've done that with a couple of books, but inevitably I'll go back to the beginning and go through it.
Yeah.
But I'll grab a couple of chapters and just kind of see how the vibe and the flow goes. And
so if you're feeling it, then you'll start at the beginning?
Yeah, sometimes. Not all the time.
Way.
Yeah.
Wow. Just blown my mind. I don't think I'd be able to do that. But
you could. It may drive you a little nutty, but you could do it. I mean, it's not that difficult to open up a book and just start reading it.
I understand it's possible. I just don't think I'd want to. I understand anything's possible.
That's what I was leading to. That you could do it because I've seen you do some pretty amazing things. And so opening a book to a random chapter is...
I have faith you could do it. Okay.
What about a $100 purchase or less that has significantly impacted your life? You could be in the sport or out. Like you mentioned some of the gear that you suggest people to have when they go backcountry. It could be something in that realm.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe like kind of snowboard specific?
It could be, or out. It doesn't have to be.
What significantly impacts your life?
Within the last 5 years.
Yeah. Huh. Well, like I was saying, that like GPS spot device thing, it's $99.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to do a yearly fee of $100. So I guess that kind of goes into it because that will save your life.
Yeah.
And it's really important, especially for my parents, because a few times when we'll do winter camping and we're out in the middle of nowhere, I pre-record one of the buttons to say like, hey, we're all good, just camping. I'll get back to you when I get home.
What's the details of that thing? Where do people get it, and what?
There's a lot these days. The one that I have, just Google Spot device, and I think they come really cheap now because obviously you have to do an annual fee, and so that's I think where they get you. So you get that, and then there's so many different ones. Sometimes you can connect them to your phone, so you can write a specific text right at that moment. I didn't want that one purely because you're probably not familiar with it, but when you're out in the cold, when it's negative temperatures, your phone usually dies because the battery just can't handle it. So I don't want to rely on my cell phone to die and then not be able to do it. So this thing, I have 4 pre-recorded text messages, and one is like, hey, we're all good. One is someone's hurt, but like it's not life-threatening, like call, whoever. Another one is a sled is busted, so please call the heli to pick up the sled. Another one is like SOS, like search and rescue now. And every one of them will always give a GPS coordination or coordinate.
When you hit it, it'll set off.
Yeah, and you can be anywhere in the world.
So if you say, I'm all good, everything's cool, GPS goes off, coordination, and then the shit hits the fan and you're not able to hit the damn button again, they at least know your last spot.
It's true. Totally. Yeah. Rarely, obviously I've never had to use it for an avalanche where things have been where it's like everyone's involved. Most of the time when that is used, it's because there's one person that's hurt, so there's still other people that are very able-bodied.
Yeah.
But yeah, God forbid that were ever to happen, they would have the last GPS coordinate. And generally, usually whenever we go sledding, I tell someone where we're going or what we're doing, just so they know the general area. Like my roommate even. Like if I'm not here by 10, then like you should get worried. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely scary out there.
Yeah.
So you got to be on it.
And how long you been using these?
My brother actually bought it for me for Christmas because he was worried.
Oh.
So it's great. Probably 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah, very necessary.
Do you have a favorite failure?
What do you mean?
Like something you failed at. It could be a business, and you're like, wow, that's a really good learning experience. Next time I'll do blah, blah, blah. Or it could be inside of a relationship where, like, wow, I could have done, taken these steps so the relationship didn't turn out like a total shit show or whatever,
Interesting question. Favorite fail. I think it's trying to be something that you're not, so you kind of fail at that. Like I think when I was single a while back, I was like, man, I'm going to be so social. I'm going to be out there, just be amongst the people. But I'm not a social person. I don't like it. So that was a fail because I'm out there and I'm despising every moment because I don't want to small talk with people. So it was an attempt to be like, okay, I tried it and I can't do it. So let's just move on from this moment. Because I try and I like doing activities like surfing with friends or I'll go for coffee with them, but I don't like being in the scene. I don't like going to bars. I hate music festivals. I don't like being around a lot of people. It sounds horrible, but I feel like you might be similar to that. So I thought I could. So that was my goal. I'm going to be social. I'm going to meet people. It's going to be great. And it just doesn't work for me. I'm not enjoying myself in the moment at all. So that's a learning a learning curve of a failure.
That's perfect.
Okay.
And I used to love going to concerts, but I don't like all the people.
No.
And I didn't realize I didn't like all the people until later on in life. I'm like, I just don't like all the people. I love the music, but I don't like people bumping into me. I don't like people rubbing on me. I don't like people acting like jerks or just slime balls or whatever. I was so irritated the whole time, and I thought I was just an angry youth or something. But I just don't like being around all those people. Now I'm like, okay, I don't like doing it.
Totally. Yeah. Even last night there was, I guess, a surf premiere. My friend's like, you've got to come, and all I could think of was like the people and like the who's who and having to talk to people, and I'm like, I can't do it. Sorry. I'll watch it on iTunes.
I warned my wife, like, okay, when we get into these situations, if I like close down or I get quiet or nothing against you, I'm just internally irritated and I'm just trying to keep my cool or whatever. We talked about this last time, on your gigantic billboard that, metaphorically it's gigantic, riding in the sky. What would you put on something like that?
I don't even remember what I said.
It's probably good.
I think don't take yourself so seriously. That might have been what I said, or that's what I feel right this moment. I think when I was like in, the up and coming years where I started to make really good money and have a lot of responsibilities in the snow world and being a professional, I was in like my heyday and it was so incredible, but I didn't enjoy any moment of it because whenever I'd make it to a certain point, I just forget that I succeeded in this goal and I'd be looking at the next one. So I feel like for so much of that, like 3 to 5 years, I didn't truly enjoy myself as much as I should have. And I feel like I took myself and I took the sport and I took life too seriously. So I think that's why I'm like trying to be the polar opposite now and just trying to enjoy all the small moments. Like before I would come down to California and because I'd liked to surf and to do these things, but I'd almost like be in the water being like, okay, I got to be in for an hour because then I have to go do this and do this and do this. Whereas now I just sit there. And like last night I was in the water and it was shit waves, but it was just such a nice feeling of the water. It's the sunset and just the whole vibe, so I'm learning to relax and just be in the moment a lot more.
How do you learn to relax? You just put yourself in that situation and just remind yourself, I don't have anything to do, and just chill out? Or is it the memory of having to do so much or whatever it was?
I think it's definitely the memory of what I used to be like, and I don't ever want to go back there. So I think that's a big part of it, but I actively like work on relaxing. Like I don't even want to say I try and meditate because I'm a horrible meditator, but I have that Headspace app. So sometimes I'll just do the 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute, and I'll listen to it, and they kind of instruct you on how to meditate. And mostly you're just sitting there and it's just a calming moment. And so at some point I feel like I'll truly feel like I've meditated. Right now I just feel like I'm listening to him and it's just like a really nice moment in the day to just sort of quieten down. But I've been doing that for a little over a year and I truly feel a lot more calm. So I think it's doing something.
Yeah.
And I also do a lot of acupuncture, which I think is one of the best things anyone could do. Oh, I love it.
You say that like you just had a nice glass of wine.
Honestly, I know.
I get it, but that was
It's so amazing. Like even just the acupuncturist I go to here, he's just, even as soon as you walk into his clinic, there's a calming feeling and just his voice. And, I don't even go specifically for anything anymore. I just go because I feel like it's a good routine and I always feel so much better after it. Oh, it's lovely.
What's it cost?
It's $50.
Under $100, that significantly changed your life. Boom.
Exactly. There you go.
Answer 2. Boom.
Exactly.
I like it.
Well worth it.
What's an unusual habit or some quirky, absurd thing that you love?
Sometimes I like to turn my brain off and I watch some stupid reality shows. And this isn't embarrassing. Like the Kardashians. Like there's this one, because I kind of like real estate. I have a few properties up in Whistler, so I'm kind of always like looking at that. There's a couple reality shows called $1 Million Listing out of LA, and then the other one's New York. And they're so good. And it's just like bullshit drama, it's very mocked up. But that, I think those two are really good, and just brainless. I feel like you don't always have to be watching or listening to, things that are always going to be a good learning experience or that sort of thing. But sometimes you just want to turn your head off and just zone out. And those are good shows to do it.
Yeah. TV in general, I find that if I just get in front of a movie or for me. But yeah, I totally get that. I don't have a show, but I think I've heard of those.
Yeah. I don't know. You fully probably wouldn't be into it if you're not really at all into like sort of real estate and stuff. I find it fascinating. And you're like, how is that apartment $12 million? Like, that's insane. But that's New York for you. It's just how she goes.
Yeah, it is insane.
Yeah.
What in the last 5 years, what behavior or habits, well, you talked about meditating, that's anything besides that's impacted your life just within the last 5 years? Sounds like in the last 5 years that's a pretty good time frame for you.
Yeah. Any habits? I guess it's probably been... No, it's been a long time. I was going to say, after I broke my legs, that's when I started getting into gym and actually like learning health and nutrition and things like that. But that was back in 03, 04, 05 were my bad breaks with injuries. So that was well past 5 years. I think 5 years, yeah, it's like starting to learn to calm yourself down. I've gone through adrenal fatigue a few times, so I've learned that it's absolutely mandatory to rest. So I'm learning to listen to my body a lot more. I sometimes, like, you can feel the energy almost inside you. And I always notice every morning when I walk up the stairs to go from first to second floor, I can just tell if I've got, like, that energy and that spunk, or if I need to take a day to relax. And it's just, like, normally if I have, like, full energy, I'm just, like, bounding up there 3 at a time, not even thinking. And then other days I actually just, like, and I feel like I'm like a block of cement, and that is such a good test, because a lot of times I would not pay attention to that tell, and I would just like still go to the gym or try and go for a big bike ride or a run or something, and I would just slowly start depleting myself. And I know that I physically can't do that anymore because I'll go back into the cycle of adrenal fatigue a lot quicker.
What's your thoughts on people taking multiple very difficult classes a day, exercise classes a day, and kind of obsessed with taking classes to burn weight or something like that? No, I'm not. I was just, your thoughts. Do you do that?
I have. I definitely do. The other day I did a 7 a.m. and a noon. And it was purely because the waves were shit. It was raining, so I wasn't going to run or bike. And Zach was like, oh, I thought you would have been at the noon. I'm teaching kettlebells. And I was like, oh, it's like I've got nothing else to do. And so I went home and I sat and I had breakfast, and I was like, no, I've got the energy for it. So then I actually biked back to the gym and did it. So I do have a bit of OCD, but I'm learning to listen to my body a lot more. So I still have moments where, like last time we hung out, I gymmed, I swam, or I surfed, I bike ride, and I yogaed. And by the end of the day, I was like, all right, that was too much. So the next day I think I only gymmed, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm just learning a good happy middle, because I'm not that good at moderation. I'm kind of like 100% one thing.
This is your off season, so you said you like to catch up on your training in your off season because you don't really feel like you train when it's not like hard work when you're working.
No, definitely not. You have your moments, obviously, when you're out snowmobiling and filming. You're hiking up mountains all day, so that's absolutely exhausting. But when when it's normal day to day, I'm not actively going to the gym. I'm doing a lot more yoga just to stretch and make your body feel good from, I don't know, just from when you bail and all that sort of stuff. But no, I'm not. I don't do the gym very much at all.
Do you have anything portable that you can work out with, or? I
have an app. I think I told you about this last time, and it's this Australian girl. I think she's pretty popular among women.
Yeah.
Her name's Kayla Itsigns, and it's all just at home, body weight things, and it's 28 minutes 3 times a week. And I really like it because you don't have to go to the gym. And up in Canada, it's so cold in the winter, so a lot of times I don't really want to leave the house unless I'm going snowboarding and already kind of geared up for the weather.
Yeah.
So I just like being able to do it at home, and like you use stairs or you're doing burpees or jump lunges or things like that, and you fully get your sweat on, and I feel like you keep your muscles active and working, but you're not going overboard. Like, I'm not trying to gain muscle in the winter. I'm just trying to keep it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to maintain.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
What would you tell a young, smart, passionate, driven, say it's a student or a young pro, going their first year into real life?
Real life being like the profession that they wanted?
Like out of college, leaving college, or into the profession that they wanted. Yeah.
Man, I feel like you're going to get so many bumps in the road, and you have to just be focused on your final destination and where you want to be. And if you're passionate about it, then that's, what you have to be driven towards. Otherwise, there's so many different, moments and upsets and things like that could kind of like, I don't know, change your route. I just feel like there's a lot of people that sort of give up a little bit too easily. And like, after my third broken leg, my dad's like, so, you think you might want to go to school now? And I was like, nope, I'm going to be a snowboarder. And he's like, all right, And thank God I did that. And after doctors were like, you shouldn't snowboard anymore, Screw you. I'm going to keep doing it. And I would just try and create the right, I'd be much more in tune with my body and be much more active in a gym routine and things like that to make it feasible. But I feel like you need to be, if you have your passion, you have to really you have to be a bit of a one-track mind so that you succeed.
What's bad advice that you hear that for somebody? What's bad advice for somebody in the same situation going into their quote unquote real life?
I feel like also you have to know when to give up. So it's hard. Like a perfect example is my brother. He kept getting a lot of concussions, and concussions you don't want to fuck with.
Yeah.
So at a certain point he had to call it. And it's sad because he didn't truly live out, the whole professional snowboarder thing, but he kind of saved himself because had he gotten even more, his head wouldn't be right. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a really fine line. I know I said you got to go for it and one track mind, but at the same time you have to know when to throw in the towel. Mm-hmm. And it's tough.
Yeah, what's advice that you just ignore, that you hear out there that you just ignore?
Don't be selfish. I think you should 100% be selfish.
Oh.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you need to be selfish, whether it's with your time or just your energy or your passion or your drive, I think there's moments where you have to be selfish, otherwise you're not going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah? You're okay with that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been selfish many a times with my business and, competing and stuff like that. It's
you can't always worry about other people.
Yeah, this is my time, and I've missed out on a ton of stuff, and people are like, oh, you're being selfish because I was building the business or whatever.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there's moments where you got to just be selfish.
Yeah.
Maybe not every aspect of life, but there's phases.
In the last 5 years, what have you gotten really good at saying no to?
Socializing?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm a lot more confident in that in the last couple of years. A lot of times I would do it because I know that's what I was supposed to do, but then I'd not enjoy it. And so that's a selfish thing. A friend would want me to go out, and I would go out because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to, or she wants me to, or something. And then ultimately I'm like, it's not healthy for me because I don't want to be here. So I think I've learned to say no to that.
And the realization it's not healthy is this is not healthy for me if I go out in these social situations that I really don't want to be in the first place.
Yeah, I just think for your mental happiness, if I don't want to be there, why am I doing it? So that's another slightly selfish act. Because I'm like, I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. How often do you have to explain that? How often do you have to do that?
Well, I honestly hang out with some a pretty close-knit crew, so they all know me very well. So it's always kind of a joke. If I am out, they're like, whoo, Helen's out. What's the occasion?
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm close enough with those sort of people. And as well, I'm 32 now, 33 next week.
Oh.
But I feel like kind of at that age, people are starting to calm down a little bit more. Mid-20s, it was kind of more of a tough call, and there'd be, some disputes or fights because I wouldn't be going out because it's sort of the time where you do party a lot. But now I feel like a lot more people are more on my page, so it's not as much of an issue. And I feel like down here, Southern California specifically, not drinking is like turning into a fad. So it's easy to say I'm not drinking and people don't think twice. Whereas either in Whistler or 5 years ago, people would be like, what the hell's going on with you? Like something's wrong.
Yeah, while you're out if you're not drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. Teetotaler.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on this detox for last week, and I went to a party that was fully catered with booze and all that kind of stuff, and I had sparkling water, which I hate. I don't like bubbly water.
No way.
I don't like bubbly water.
What about kombucha?
I like flat water. It depends on how it's flavored.
Yeah.
It's fine. I heard a friend of mine drinks kombucha. Actually, I tried it. Kombucha beer. Have you ever tried that?
I have. I can't remember. I don't like beer. So
I don't think it tasted like beer personally. It's just like It's like hard kombucha, you know.
Well, Boochcraft,
right,
which is like just an alcoholic kombucha. I think they just what is it? They like let it not marinate. That's the wrong word. Ferment. Yeah. Longer to create more alcohol. But I haven't had the beer. Yep.
My wife and a friend of mine has had it. They're kombucha fans and they liked it. So you get a little bit of buzz off of the kombucha.
Yeah. Do you think that's like it's still alcohol, so it's still not healthy, but it's probably the healthier of alcohols, would you say?
Well, I wouldn't say all alcohol. There's some benefits in like wine and stuff like that. It's the excess and the overboardness that it gets unhealthy. Mm-hmm. So I would say yes, that's probably on the healthier side because it's fermented and it's doing your body good. Yeah. Because it's fermented. And I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
You can justify it. Like, hell yeah, it's just kombucha.
Totally. I just wonder if you drink that versus drinking, I don't know, just normal beer or something. Like if you maybe would be less hungover the next day.
Oh, maybe.
I'm not sure.
On the healthy side, if you want to do alcohol, we just do like clear stuff. And
is that actually proven?
Not a lot of it. Because of the calories and what it's made out of and no gluten and yada yada. But, I don't know.
I don't either.
Yes.
I kind of just avoid it.
Yeah. I don't... I found myself a little kind of craving some alcohol while I was doing this, but it was fleeting. It was passing.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Still no coffee?
No, I had some organic zero caffeine coffee substitute today. So I got a little bit of the coffee flavor, but not really.
Coffee substitute? Was it mushroom? Or what's it made of?
I love that too. I like Four Sigmatic the mushroom. This is it's organic, and I don't know exactly. It starts with a T. It's the brand that starts with a T.
Okay.
And it's like I had it when I was in Mexico.
Is it a powder that you dissolve, or is it kind of like you filter it like coffee?
You can filter it, or put it in a tea bag.
Okay.
Put it in one of those tea bags that you can fill up in hot water.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to show me it.
No caffeine. I'll put a link to it. Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll take a picture of the bag.
Yeah.
When you feel, or if you ever feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do?
I usually try and kind of shut out the busyness of the world a little bit, so then my mind can sort of be at peace. Because I feel like usually when I'm overwhelmed, it's usually when I'm in big, either social settings or stressed out due to obviously elements you can't control. Yeah. So sometimes just like bringing it back and shutting out those elements for a while to just get your head back to like sanity level, I feel like helps a lot. So sometimes just taking a day off from the world. It sounds silly, but it's so necessary. Like a couple weekends ago, my roommate was gone, and I just kind of needed like a break from this. So aside from I surfed once each day, but other than that, I pretty much like closed the blinds and just sort of had my inside day. And I'm used to it a lot up in Canada because it rains so much. But here, it's rarely ever shitty weather. So I almost feel that I'm supposed to be outside active or socializing or things like that. But sometimes I'll close the blinds and just like tell myself it's a rainy day. Like you just need to shut yourself off. And you just sort of, I don't know, I feel like to be alone is where I really can like rejuvenate and get back to base. Otherwise, I feel like depleted with socializing.
So you can be social. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 2 nights that I had to go out last week. And I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I was like, whew, I don't want to talk to anyone. Like, I need to shut this down. It's too much for me.
What about when you're snowboarding? Is there any time that you feel overwhelmed or pressured to do anything? And if you do, what do you do?
Constantly.
Yeah?
For sure. People, will just like, you'll be at the base of a mountain and they'll be like, oh, how about that line? How about that line? And you look and you have to just weigh the pros and the cons. And sometimes you feel pressured because you're like, all right, well, this is the filmer. This is the guy making the movie. He wants me to do that line, but I'll look at it. And as I said before, there'll be moments where like, you get nervous and you're like, I don't know if I want to do it, but I'll have to think about what I'll be feeling in, 5-10 hours once I'm back home. Will I regret that I didn't do it? Or will I be like, no, that was a good decision? So I always try and think of like foreshadowing of what I'll feel like then. Because in the moment when you're on top of a line or something, like you're generally always nervous because you're doing something that's pretty high risk. But then there's like risk versus reward. And sometimes like, it's going to slide and that there's like a no slide zone where if it does slide, you're going to go over some cliffs and it's not okay. And so you kind of like with experience and with time, you learn a lot more about what's worth it and what's not.
Do you remember your first big run like that when you're...
I don't know about the first, but I definitely, when I started sledding and started filming, I was thrown in the deep end because I went out with my snowboard sponsor. It's called Yes, and it's 3 incredible professional shredders that have been doing it for well over a decade, and they're so good. Anyway, they took me under their wing, and so not only the snowboarding, but it was the snowmobiling, because snowmobiling is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And so having to keep up with them and not get stuck and not be a liability to them was one thing that was terrifying. But then all of a sudden I'd get there and I'd be so exhausted. And then all of a sudden you have to hike up an extra like 100 meters in bottomless snow. So it's the hardest thing you'll do. And then ride down being 100%, being able to jump off things or slash or whatever. So I think just like the whole probably 3-4 years of sledding and filming was just nerve-wracking every moment of every day. I know. Sometimes you're like, why did I do it? But I knew in the future I would be so happy I did. So right now I'm so happy because now obviously I've had a career in it and sledding is an incredible sport. It's the same with surfing. People are like, the first few years it's just tough and you almost have to make it a chore to go out there because you're not really catching waves. You have to just learn. And I knew that the bigger picture, I wanted to know how to surf. So I just knew that those few years, it's not going to be that fun. And I just got through them, and now I froth over it. So you kind of just need to see the bigger picture and like where you want to go with it.
Why did they take you under their wing? Why you?
Because I'm epic.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I'd worked with their filmer a couple times the previous year, and he saw that I had potential, and he saw that I had, I kind of had balls. I didn't have I wasn't timid. I would just kind of go for it. So he knew that I had potential. I just needed to learn where you should have balls and where you should shut it down. I didn't really have that. I would just be like, yeah, I'll hit that, and he saw that. And so he talked to those guys and were like, this girl could be, the next girl. And so they gave me a board and we went on this winter, it was like a 4-night camping mission. And to get there, it was like 40-kilometer sled ride. And then we had all our camping supplies and sleds and fires and food and everything. And we stayed there for 4 days and we just would sled, from base camp every day. So you're just wet nonstop constantly. And that was like my test to see how I do. And since I wasn't whining, I was getting after it. I was getting the shots, things like that. That's when they decided, yeah, this is our girl. So that's sort of how it went down.
That is epic.
Yeah, it's good.
Does it ever get lonely, for you being?
No.
I'm sure you go into certain circles and people know you and all that kind of stuff, and they, want to be friends and whatnot, finger honors or what. I don't know if it's like that or not, but does it
Not really. The only time I ever sometimes get a little bit like slightly low is sometimes when you've been traveling a lot and then all of a sudden you get back home and you're like, man, like, am I supposed to, you know, create roots somewhere? And I feel like sometimes that's sort of in between when I'm like up in Canada, then all of a sudden I come here and I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm neglecting my life up there. And then I'll be here and I haven't really like gotten into like my routine or structure here. So sort of usually that in-between time, sometimes you're sort of reflecting on life a little bit and being like, am I doing the right thing or should I like be 100% in one spot? But ultimately, every time I ask that question, the answer is you're doing everything exactly how you should be doing it.
And the relationships in your life with your family, personal, all that kind of stuff, they're all very understanding or just like fluid? Or how's that?
Totally. Family is incredible. I have the most supportive parents and brother I could ever ask for. My friends are so incredible as well. You know, like they know this is my life and they know that's how it goes. And if you ever have those friends that kind of give you shit sometimes because you're not keeping in touch with them when you're long distance, I think ultimately it just filters those people out because it's not possible to always be doing that. You know, you're up in Alaska or you're in Europe, or I feel like your true friends are the ones where you can kind of like not have that much socializing in a couple months and get back into a phone call or just seeing them and it just goes right back to where it was. And I think that's kind of a good significant reason why they're your friends. Relationships, I'll get back to you on that one. Hasn't worked so far, but I have hope. We'll see what happens. I feel like the man has to be pretty strong and understanding that this is what I do and be able to do long distance. A lot of people can't, you know, like they need to have like eye on the prize at all times and be like physically near the person. And there's some people that need that and some people that don't. So I just need to find someone that is, you know, pretty sure that long distance is something they can do. Because it won't be forever.
Yeah, or could travel or
could travel. That's tougher. I don't know if that's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. But I feel like that's not as feasible as just finding someone that's
cool with the travel.
Yeah, okay with what I do.
Yeah. So last time we talked, interesting, you with your brother came up. What was it about? Like, what had your brother toughen you up? Because that was the kind of the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it?
I feel like older brothers. Maybe this isn't everyone, but it is actually a lot of people that I do know that have an older brother. They kind of beat you up and they try and make you tough for the real world. So he would physically pummel me. And every time he was like punching me or something, he'd be like, I'm making you stronger. So he relates and thinks that the reason I'm a professional snowboarder and have been able to, you know, take all the hits and the beatings and the injuries is because he toughened me up when I was little. So it remains to be seen whether that's actually true, but I feel like there's something to it.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, I might have just grown up as like a prissy little girl that didn't really know what getting hurt was, and I'd probably be whining the whole time.
There's something to say about being coddled and bubble wrapped as a kid and how you turn out. I mean, absolutely. I don't see too many MMA fighters who had a helicopter mom or something like that. I would imagine.
I've never heard that term.
Helicopter mom?
Yeah, what is that?
It's when mom hovers around the kid and like, oh, be careful, don't do that. You know,
gotcha.
You're falling down. Oh, Johnny, give me a hug. You know,
got it.
Get a speck of dirt in your eye.
I
stuff
like that. Okay.
Helicopter mom.
Yeah, makes sense.
I had a lot of older friends that would beat on me and hold me down and stuff like that. So that definitely shaped the things that I did as I got older, like doing martial arts and stuff like that. That was friends. I had I have an older sister that we fought, but I was pretty much.
See, it's different though.
Nah.
An older sister, she's not going to kick your ass.
No, she mothered me.
Okay, see, if anything, you've been helicopter sistered.
I've been helicopter mom and sistered.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But to be straight and tell the truth, I'm glad now that they did, because there's some things that I'm sure I would have done that would have broken me for later on in my life, where I see my friends are kind of kind of broken up, physically with it, because I just did not care. I would do anything to impress anybody and just to be liked.
Yeah.
And so there was some things that my mom wouldn't allow me to do, and I'm glad. I hated it then.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it. And I resented it for 30 some odd years. But then I was like, oh, my friends their neck is always jacked up, or their back is always, playing pro ball hasn't really been that great for so-and-so.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a pro football player. Mm-hmm. And Mom was like, no, you're not playing football, so I don't know how you're going to do that.
She just shut it down.
Yeah,
There's no chance.
No football for you.
No way.
Yeah.
See, my parents were a bit like that because they're British, and so they just weren't down with American sports. They're like, baseball, no. Football, no. Hockey, no. Soccer, yeah, sure. Basketball, we played.
Yeah.
I think soccer, like gymnastics, like taekwondo, stuff like that. But just like baseball or hockey, they're like, no, it's fucking stupid. But they just, because they never grew up with it, they didn't understand.
Yeah. My mom was okay with swimming, which was great because I'm very comfortable in the water. And
totally.
And volleyball. She was okay with me playing volleyball.
Fun.
And but I didn't play volleyball very much or very long. So using the big kid size, I never was able to use my big kid size until I got out of the house. Past 18, 19, and by the time I'm not going pro.
Yeah.
Funny. What's your? I know you like to support and kind of mentor or be some like a mentor to younger girls.
Uh-huh.
What is it that you would like to see in the future for young female athletes that you would have control over, you could be a part of?
I feel like just having the platform that I have and that the women that I snowboard with have, I think it would be unfortunate to not try and utilize that to try and help shape and create and empower other women and girls. With that said, I just feel like in this day and age, there's a lot of people that are more focused on materialistic things or looks or things like that due to social media. I feel like is a massive reason why. And they just see all these chicks duck face selfieing. And I feel like they think that that's where they need to go and try to be a model or something like that. And I just want to try and help empower these ladies to know that, sports is very much a part of a female life. It's not just a male thing. And I just think trying to be that role model will really help them, in the long run and toughen them up, and give them kind of goals and futures. I feel like most people that in school and high school and things like that, you're never sure which way someone's going to go, whether they're going to go to the negative route of either drugs, drinking, partying, things like that, or if they're going to go to the positive route. But I feel like there's something to be said for people that do sports. I feel like they have a common goal and it's a healthy goal, and I feel like that sort of drive can really keep them away from all the negative that life could offer you. So I feel like trying to, like I said, try to empower these ladies, I think will go a long way.
What are you doing now to be a good influence or role model? What do you do, especially on the social media aspect of it? You're not doing any kind of crazy duck face.
No,
I don't even know what that is. What's duck face? What's it?
It's it kind of looks like you're trying to kiss someone, but that's definitely not it. I think people just think it adds, I don't know, accentuates their jawline. Anyway, it's ridiculous. But I just feel like, a lot of people are trying to show a lot more skin in social media to try and get more followers because, sex sells. It's obvious. Surfers who obviously need to be wearing bikinis because they're in the water every day, and I get it. But they have substantially more followers than, say, myself, because I'm pretty much covered 99% of the time because I'm in the frigging winter cold and it's freezing, and I don't want to get, I don't want to get a goggle tan, or so I have my face covered too. So we'll never get the same sort of outreach, but I just feel like trying to be positive and a good role model just with, reasonable posts, not being too sexy, things like that. And I just feel like trying to make the main basis of me being sports and healthy and, nutrition and things like that more than hey, look at my stomach or something.
Yeah.
I feel like that could go a long way with these young girls.
I'm curious about your thoughts on global warming. We touched on it just a little bit, and you mentioned that I hope you, as in you all listening, believe in it. And there's so many, well, not so many. There's those who believe in it, those who don't. So you're out there and you see impacts of the weather that has on your sport.
It's like we see it firsthand being in the snow industry because, you know, you're up there, and especially Whistler, it's so close to the ocean. So we're at a much lower freezing level. And so even a half a degree, like you can see the effects. Like probably about 10 years ago, our winters were so good all the time. We'd get so much precipitation. It would stay like under freezing. And now these days, it's just getting warmer and warmer, and even a half a degree difference in temperature means rain to snow. And that's our livelihood. You know, if it's raining, it's not worth going up the mountain. So we see it a lot. I just watched this incredible documentary, Chasing Coral, and it shows the firsthand effect of global warming. And it was pretty much these biologists going around and showing the effects of, I think it was I think the ocean, they said, is 2 degrees warmer than it used to be. And the coral is all dying. It's bleaching and then dying within, weeks of each other. And it's just so sad to see. So to, try to make initiative, just small steps wherever you can, recycling when you can, reusing, that sort of thing. And it's sad to see that the U.S. leader is so unaware of this situation. It's pathetic.
Yeah, what would you say to someone who absolutely does not believe in global warming?
I probably would just walk away, because there's no point even having a conversation with that person if they're that black and white about it.
Yeah. If they're open to hear the conversation,
then it'd be interesting, and I would be fascinated to hear their side, to see how they actually don't think it's happening. There's so much science to prove it. So how can you go back on that and say, oh no, that's not real? It's unfathomable. I don't get it. But it's happening. It's a real thing. So we have to try and take the right measures and precautions to ensure it doesn't keep going the way it's going.
Yeah. How does our current political, I don't even know what to call it, thing impact Canada?
Oh man, it's the global warming. Fortunately, our leader is way cooler than yours.
Our leader.
And so we're taking so much initiative for global warming specifically, and just for, the health and well-being of, Canadians in general. But ultimately, America is a massive country, one of, definitely the biggest population-wise. And it's crazy to me that there's a lot of people that are just taking sides with your leader about, how they think that global warming is a myth and things like that. And it's just, you just need to see the science and see the reasoning and know that it's not, and that we have to do our part to help Mother Nature. Like, I honestly believe there's been so many natural disasters this year, and it's Mother Nature saying, hey guys, you got to pay attention to us, because this is a real thing, and I really hope that people listen. We are. It's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't really thought that Mother Nature necessarily is speaking, but the fact that the ocean is warmer, which causes hurricanes and stuff like that, is like, how could you not?
Isn't it crazy?
Say, and there's been, how many more this year than there was last year, and it's not like, and the 50-year floods that happen every 50 years are now happening every 5 years.
Totally. Exactly, and just there's been the worst forest fires to date. British Columbia had its biggest one on record, and it was 18 that amalgamated into one, and it pretty much was burning for at least 8 weeks.
Wow.
Like, it's insane. There's so many houses lost, so much stuff going on, and like it all in turn is affected with this heating up of the world.
Yeah. Well, I love the water, I love the ocean, and so that I'm pretty passionate about what goes into it, and sewage and recycle and stuff like that, and overfished and all that. So I think if all hell breaks loose here on land, I'm going in the water.
It's true. Man, I'd get so seasick.
You do?
Oh, yeah. I don't think
bummer.
I'd be able to do that. But yeah, maybe if the boat's big enough.
I think even if the boat's big, you may get...
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the Titanic, I feel like it's swayed a bit.
It moves a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you would like to leave with your loyal listeners? Any fleeting last thoughts?
Not really. Just take it in sometimes. Just sit back. I feel like life gets really overwhelming. And you need to, and I know firsthand because that happened to me for a long time. I think you just need to step back and enjoy it and see the simple things in life. And, obviously money's necessary, but it's not everything. And I feel like happiness is so important that you have to try and find a happy medium ground.
I don't know, but what if there's thoughts out there? Well, it's easy for her to do. She works and then she's off for a few months and she can sit back and take it all in sunny California.
I know.
What would you say to somebody who's in middle America and just, hitting the grindstone just to pay the mounting debt?
I say that because a lot of people that have only known me for the last year or so are like, man, you got the life, like you're hardly working, you're just cruising, like you don't have any schedule. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't see me 3 years ago. You didn't see me 5 years ago. Like you didn't see me when I'd have broken legs and I'd be like crutching into the gym, like just working my ass off, or, working 3 full-time jobs trying to get to the place that I was in so I wouldn't have to do that anymore. And I feel like I've worked 3 lives enough that I'm good. I'm retired, like once snowboarding's done, I'm content, and I've been smart with cash flow, that I have properties that I rent out. So, once the time does come where, snowboarding might not pay the bills, then I'm good, and I'm happy. And it's always going to be work. It's always effort. I'm on Airbnb at least 30 to an hour every day, just sort of organizing my renters coming and going. But I enjoy it and it's fun, and it allows me to go surf whenever I want, or to be in Indonesia for 2 months a year, because as long as I have a little bit of internet once a day, I'm content.
Who directed you to be financially responsible? Who's been impacting you to be financially responsible and buy properties and stuff like that? Was it influence in your life?
No one specifically. I guess obviously I always saw my parents working really hard to provide a really good upbringing, and so that's definitely a big part of it. But I just know I'm not a 9-to-5er, and I'm not someone that can just have routine and have the same thing going every day. So I just knew in my heart that I need to plan myself accordingly so that I can kind of cruise. So that's sort of what I've been doing.
So the moral of the story is know thyself and adjust accordingly. Exactly.
And some people like the routine.
Yeah.
And like we said before, I love that they do because we need them.
Yeah.
And so I'm so appreciative of people that are good with just, waking up, going to, work every day for 7:30 and leaving at 3:30 or whatever hours you have, and they're passionate and they like their job. And I think that's so incredible. So don't ever, berate or beat up on someone that does have routine or a little bit more structured lifestyle, because where would I be if we didn't have those people?
Yeah.
I feel like we're all very different, and you have to listen to thyself,
One last question. Mm-hmm. A guilty music pleasure.
Justin Bieber. Canadian.
Wait a second. I like Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
On accident. I'm like, hey, I like this song. And somebody said, hey, this is Bieber. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
I honestly didn't like him that much. And then you see him on Carpool Karaoke with James Corden, I think his name is. It's a British comedian, and he's hilarious. And Justin Bieber just has such a good banter, and just he seems like just like a solid dude, so it makes me like his music even more. And he's Canadian. What more could you want?
Nothing. Yeah.
Life is complete.
He's pretty. He's got really cool hair.
Yeah, he's too pretty boy for me.
Well,
more like rough around the edges.
So if he grew a beard and ruffled his hair a little bit, maybe
a few more scars or something. Something.
All right, well, let's go beat up Justin Bieber. So,
okay.
Helen.
Yeah, so I have a crush.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
I am on Instagram and Facebook, just as my name, Helen Schettini, Schettini. That's probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's enough.
Well, I don't know. You don't need email.
No,
you can DM me.
And if you're out in public, really celebrate it. So if you see Helen, for one, call her Hell, because you're like, buddies right off the bat, and celebrate the occasion, because it's a special occasion if Helen's out.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty surprising.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that conversation.
This episode was brought to you by TrueFit, and you can find TrueFit on www.staytruefit.com, and it's STAYTRUFIT.com. And this is my go-to suspension trainer. I really dig these. I dig these units. He calls them units, which is another thing that I like. I like calling them my suspension unit. And I like them because they're sturdy. It's made out of T6 heat-treated anodized aluminum handles, so they're not going to break on you. The webbing is climbing grade webbing, and they also have climbing grade adjustable points, which is really cool. Washable and removable grips, which is good because I sweat like a beast. So it's also UIAA certified carabiners, bitchin'. So the things are not going to collapse on you. So if you'd like a 20% discount on these suckers, go to http://www.staytruefit.com/kettlebellfriends.html. And it's kettlebell friends because I'm the kettlebell guy and you are my friends. I will put this link in the show notes at www.robertbud.net, and it will be under the podcast, so /podcast. One last thing before you go, if you would like to get a very short email from me once a month about things that I've dug up in my life, which has to do with diet, exercise, books I've been reading, quotes, different research things that I've been looking up, that has to do with usually well-being and other people in the world really kicking ass in their health. Go ahead, go to my website, RobertBudd.net, and drop in your email where it says, put your email here for the very next non-newsletter, because it's not a newsletter, just a really quick email. So if you get it, drop your email in there, you get the very next one, and if you do get it, I hope you like it. And also, if you'd like to get a hold of me, leave me any comments or anything like that, I can also be found on my website, RobertBudd.net, or on all the socials. And till next time, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I was going to say, for the last time, it's not going to be the last time. That was on the tip of my tongue. I really appreciate you guys. I really, really appreciate you listening, and I love all your feedback and your comments, and I really appreciate you listening. So, with that being said, until next time, stay floating on whatever kind of board, whether it's on water that's frozen or not. All right, Shaka.